Guys, welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at the first known primitive data structure under linear, which is array. Array data structure is one of the most common linear data structures that is tested in 795 exams, and is one of the most popularly used data structures in programming. So it is very important for students to understand array data structures and equally the implementation of arrays in real time. But so in our lesson plan, we are going to be looking at real life situation on array. We are going to have introduction of arrays. We are going to have a lesson content. We have conclusion and practice exercise. So let's ride on. We'll start with a problem situation or a real life situation where Eric is a student in Tanshi Academy. He has understood from primitive data structures that he can store simple data in a computer using variables with single values. However, when it comes to the level where he needed to store scores of students in his class after an evaluation in computer's memory, it becomes challenging declaring variables for each student in a class. He then decided to think of a method of storing complex data. So assuming that there are 100 of them in class, so using primitive data structure, he will need to declare 100 variables. So this is a situation where a student wants to keep scores of students in an evaluation, and declaring for 5 can be very easy, but when it comes to a number of students already above 100, you can imagine how it will be complex to declare 100 variables. And the concept of non-primitive data structure will help address his worry. So this real life situation simply tells us that we need a data structure that can hold large volumes of data in real time. So introduction. In programming, an array is a fundamental data structure used to store multiple elements of the same type. So we should take note of the definition. An array is a fundamental data structure that is used to store multiple elements of the same data type, which means that if you want to store integers, you can use an array and all of them will be integers. If you want to store characters, you can use an array of characters. Okay, so you have array of integers, so they must be of the same data type. Secondly, array is a type of data structure that stores data elements in adjacent locations. Okay, so if you want to store data elements in an adjacent location, you can use an array. An array is a collection of elements identified by index or key. So in an array, every element in an array can be identified by its index or a key. The elements in an array are stored in a contiguously memory and have same data type. So which means that they're stored in the same memory location and they have the same data type. And arrays can be one-dimensional or multi-dimensional, such as two-dimensional arrays. So in this level of training, we are going to be focusing on one-dimensional and two-dimensional arrays. Characteristics of arrays. The first characteristic of an array is fixed size. Once an array is created, its size cannot be changed. So if you declare an array and the size is 10, you cannot easily modify or change the size of that array. You might have to declare or modify the size of that array. So once an array is created, its size cannot usually be changed. But dynamic arrays or resizable arrays like those used in Python or array lists in Java are exceptions. So we should take note that is an exception. Secondly, homogeneous elements. All elements in a standard array must be of the same data type. So we are saying that if you are declaring arrays of characters, then all the elements will be characters. If you are declaring arrays of integers, all of them must be integers. The next, index access. Each element in an array can be accessed directly using its index. And an index in an array is the position within the array. So indices typically start at 0. So the first element of an array is always at index 0. So we should take note. Elements in an array can be accessed directly using its index. An index is position within the array. Arrays can be created as numerical or character array. And of course, depending on what you want to store, but they must be of the same data type. Dimensions of an array. Arrays can be classified as follows: one-dimensional or two-dimensional arrays, or multi-dimensional arrays. So these are the different dimensions of arrays: one-dimensional, two-dimensional, or multi-dimensional arrays. Okay, let's look at one-dimensional arrays. One-dimensional array, it has only one row of elements. Take note, one-dimensional arrays, they have only one row of elements. It is stored in ascending storage location. It is stored in ascending storage location. One-dimensional arrays make use of one square bracket. So if you want to take two-dimensional arrays, they'll use two square brackets. So one-dimensional arrays make use of one square bracket. Now, declaring one-dimensional arrays. For example, the syntax. The syntax is data type, array name, size. This is declaring a one-dimensional array. We take note of the syntax: data type, array name, size of the array in square bracket. And size indicates maximum number of array elements. For example, if we take integer max and we put 5 ending with a semicolon, you see that the size of the array is 5. The data type of the array is int, which stands for integer, and the name of the array is max, and the size of the array is 5. So here we have declared a one-dimensional array. We have given the size of the array. So we should take note that one-dimensional arrays, they have only one row of elements, and the syntax of that one-dimensional array, declaring it, because when you are declaring, it's like creating it. It's like creating an array. So data type, array name, size, and the size indicate the maximum number of array elements. Okay, now let's consider one-dimensional arrays. Initializing one-dimensional arrays. When we declare an array and don't assign values, the system assigns garbage values in the array. So what are we saying? If you declare an array and don't assign values to the array, the elements in the different positions of that array are garbage values, which means that, for example, if you see, we declare an array called max and we don't assign values, the spaces that are blank have garbage values. They don't have any value. The machine has put garbage values. They have no meaning. Now consider the array below. We have integer, we have max. You see that when you declare that array, that is how it looks like, and you see that the index of an array would normally be the positions. If you want to access the elements of the array, you use the index, and you notice that the index of this array starts from 0 to 4. And if you proceed further, initializing one-dimensional arrays, so we are saying that when you declare an array, we can assign initial elements to the array. So previously we declared an array, we do not assign. The system assigns garbage values. Now let's consider a situation where we want to assign values. So for example, we have integer max, we have equal to. So we see that the values of the elements of an array are in a set bracket. The size of an array is in a square bracket. So students are supposed to understand this initialization, and that's a good example. So we have the array name, we have the data type, we have the array name, the size, and the values. So let's see how. Now the array elements can be accessed using their indices. Now array indices starts from 0 to n minus 1, where n is the size of the array. So if the size of your array is 10, it means that the last index of your array will be 9, which is 10 minus 1. So that's how you, because the array indices starts from 0, not from 1. So to determine the last index of your array is n minus 1, where n is the size of the array. So for example, you can see the situation here where we have the first array element, which is 20, is an index 0. The last, which is 10, is at index 4, which of course, which is 5 minus 1, that gives us 4. So each of these is called the index. So the index of this first array element is 0. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, so in programming, an array is a fundamental data structure used to store multiple elements of the same type. An array is a type of data structure that stores data elements in adjacent locations. And an array is a collection of elements identified by index or the key. The elements in an array are stored contiguously in memory and have the same data type. Arrays can be one-dimensional or multi-dimensional. So, my dear students, in this lesson, we have seen what is an array as a linear data structure. Now, for revision questions, students are expected to answer the following questions to show mastery of the different concepts that were taught. So the first question is for them to define an array data structure. The second is to state the characteristics of an array, explain with example how to declare and initialize an array, and state the classifications of arrays. So when you must have gone through this lesson, attempt to answer these questions. That will give you the possibility to understand if you actually have mastery of the concepts of array. So this takes us to the end of the lesson, and in our next lesson we are going to be looking at two-dimensional arrays in brief, and we'll continue with non-linear data structures, which is trees and graph. Stay tuned and see you in our next lesson. Thank you.